I love Data Week, and
Yeah.
I know what Louisa loves. It's data.
Yay! Oh, it's nice to
I
have a
mean,
hobby, isn't it?
well, if it is a hobby, then you made it into your business.
Oh, data's so good. I've always loved
What
data.
is so good about data? Because
Data makes
most people,
sense.
I think, are freaked out about it. So,
Yeah, I think data makes sense of things. It brings order, it brings clarity, it brings understanding. And I like that.
yeah, you do. I think as well that people maybe misunderstand what it is, and really think of it only in terms of it's the numbers, right?
Yeah,
It's the metrics, but it's
so much
not,
more.
right? It's all information. It's
Yeah.
all the information. Yeah, I'm sorry. We have our host come back.
That's all right. Come talk about data, Bella.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I've, I mean, even
She's
just,
obsessed with our recordings.
yeah,
This is a thing that's true. This is data, right? The fact that Bella keeps showing up tells us something. It gives us information
yeah.
about her liking to be near her human when her human is speaking.
I've always loved data from like even like my first job was stuffing envelopes for invoices.
Yeah,
You know, back when you used to actually post invoices.
yeah, yeah. Back in
And
the olden days.
in the olden days. And, you know, the data was how much are you charging and where's it going to? And so we had names and addresses. We had how, because it was a fuel company. So it was like how many liters of petrol had they spent over the month? And you'd put all the 400 or so envelopes down to the post office, drive them down, and all done. But I used to love that. I don't know why, but you know the three fold of the paper to get it the right size in the envelope. Oh my God, I was good at that. But and that sort of stuff is, I guess, many of
That is a skill that is hard to market these days.
I don't think I've put that on my CV to be fair. And you'd have the little windows. You've got to get it right to get it
Yeah,
in.
yeah, no, I mean, I've been there, I've done that. I am, roughly the same age as you.
Yeah.
Um,
And my other job, my summer job was putting grain data into a system. And so when farmers would sell their grain, so it'd come through a grain licensing company, and
mhm.
then they would then process the tonnage, and then all that would then go through the system. And so every time someone would bring the trucks in, they'd weigh how much grain they had and quality of grain, and you know there were certain things that they had. If you had wheat, if you had barley, etc., there was a whole lot of metrics for that. But the one thing I remember about that job, and I was, what, 20 at the time, was that we built an Excel macro. So every day I'd get the data would come into an Excel file, and then I would hit my little macro button, and then it would sort all the columns for me. It would make it really clear. It put them in the right order. Oh my God, I love that thing. And it was like it was it sorted data in a way that made it even better to read. And I'd have my ruler and I'd check it all the numbers, cross it all off every day. And
I think, and I
yeah.
think part of what people miss about data, like I am currently looking at report structures
Mm.
at my side gig, and I keep asking people. I'm very annoying because I keep asking questions, and I'm like, "What do you need the data for?
Yeah.
What is the goal that you have in collecting this data?" Because me reporting on our numbers is dependent on what you need it to do, right? Like
Yeah.
if if it's about, I don't know, let's say it's about resource management, right? Like how many people do we need, and on what days, and blah, blah, blah. So it's about scheduling, whatever.
Mm.
then you need to know how many calls we're getting in the day, how many, but then it also becomes important. What time of day do we get the calls? Because do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I'm just sort of rambling, but I think um, people, when they look at data, they get overwhelmed because there is uh, an infinite amount of information we can collect and
Hmm.
record. And what people forget is before they start recording things, is to think, is this important to know?
Yeah.
We've recently started uh, recording where requests are coming from.
Hmm.
So is it coming from one of the three main regions that we serve, or is it coming from anywhere else?
Yeah.
Those are the four options. Or we don't know. That's the fifth option.
Hmm.
Uh, because we forgot to ask. Anyway, but it's like I was asked the question, like, where do the most requests come from? And I was like, I don't know because we're not recording that. Instinctively, I would say it's this and
Yeah.
then that and then that, but that's just right. I don't know. Um, and so, but then I asked, but is that information that you need? Is that relevant to what you are trying to achieve in
Yeah.
your job as my manager? And and they were like, yeah, actually, that would be really useful. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, well, then we'll start recording it. It's super easy. But then we just need an extra column in our little sheet, right? But
Yeah.
it's this. I think that's a step that people often miss, and I wonder what you think about it. But I think you agree with me. Is the what do I need the data to tell me? What do I need it
Mhm.
for? What is my goal with this? Because if we're just collecting information for information's sake, what do you always call it? The just in case,
Oh,
the just in case folder.
yeah.
Like then it becomes overwhelming because now it doesn't serve us.
Yeah.
It's just noise that we're now collecting.
Yeah. And there's layers of data. So I think what you've given is an example of a couple of layers of data. You need basic data. So who are they? What do they need? And then you're looking at, well, where are they from? And what else can you find out about them? I think in this day and age of automation, people are trying to collect everything. And I had a conversation with someone a few years ago now, and they were collecting date of birth. And when I reviewed the data, I said, well, why are you collecting this? Oh, I don't know. We always have. And I said, but what is the purpose of having a date of birth? Because it raises privacy issues. Well, I don't know. I don't understand the question. And it's like, but what does the data give you? Like, are you looking at age brackets? Oh, not really. Are you looking at, providing them with a gift on their birth? Well, no, we don't do that. And I'm like, so that field is just collecting for collecting's sake. I said
Yeah.
there's privacy issues. Um, you can't tell me why you actually need like so I think I think there's also an anger with people who do ask you about data. Why don't we have that? Why haven't we collected it? What's the problem here? And often it's because we never ask the questions at the start. You never kind of went back to, as you say, the reason behind what the data is for. And then you try to fill in the gaps because you realize that you've missed something important. And then it's like then there's frustration that we never collected that. Why didn't anyone think of this before? And yada yada yada. You know,
And we get it all the time. We'll get it's like, how many times have people called about this in the last 3 months? And you're like, how am I supposed to know?
yeah,
If you would have told me at the start of the 3 months, we could
yeah,
have collected that data. But if I don't know that you need an answer to that question, I'm not collecting that for
yeah.
you.
And forecasting is challenging when it comes to data.
Yeah.
You're trying to guess. Like if you need, as you say, people on the ground to do a job, you have to forecast that for the first couple of times because you don't have data to say what you need. In business, you're always guessing at the start of, how many leads you might bring in, how many will convert to clients. But over time, as long as you record that very basic data, you will gather a picture of, if you're doing, say, 20 calls a month that are leads, and you maybe convert one of them a month, maybe two perhaps, but generally you're on one. That is data that you can then use to then go, well, I only have 20 calls, but I really need to do 30 to then hopefully get 3 to 5 people a month. So the data's kind of informing you, but if you can't ask those questions, then you're missing opportunities, I think, to go back to the basic data, the core in business, that how many leads do I get, how many clients do I make, how much money do I bring in the business. Those are really basic metrics. And I think people get scared when they get asked about data because they've never thought about what it means. And I mean, I will myself say that I find it hard to forecast in my business.
Well, and I think as well, like there's an expectation. Somehow, I think we judge ourselves, right?
Oh,
Like when we're like,
yeah.
oh my God, I do 20 sales calls and I only convert one, that seems very low. And so there's all this story that starts happening.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's just information. So
Yeah.
you can, and the information is there so that you can make better informed decisions about, do I need to do more calls? Do I need to change the structure of my sales call? Do I need to add a step in my customer journey so that, yes, I have fewer calls, but I have a higher conversion rate, right? Like
Yeah.
it is simply information so that you can make informed choices, so that you can strategize, and you can strategize from a place of knowing exactly what is going on. And that is, but again, I love that you data me story, but it's, we make assumptions about our business anyway,
Mhm.
right? So we are already telling ourselves a story, and what data does is confirm or deny that story.
Yeah, it does. It
And
does.
that's all it is. And then you add the mindset to it, and then you're at setting up shop. But anyway, but that is important. That's an important element of that, because we need to let go of that judgment of, am I converting enough? Am I,
Mhm.
like, we need to look at what we're doing and not, and I'll be the first to admit, sometimes I find it terrifying to look at my business in that sort of scrutinizing way.
Yeah.
Um, but it is necessary to look at it if we want to make it better, if we want to make it easier, if we want to make it more cost efficient. Like all of these things require us to understand the numbers,
Yeah.
right?
And I mean, there are different numbers depending on if you're a product-based business or a service-based business. So a lot of my data comes from my clients' wins. So I'm not just looking at sort of the way that my own business runs. I'm looking at the impact that I have on the clients. And in terms of the workflows, it's very hard to tangibly recognize what the wins are there, because it's idea, it's brainstorming, it's gathering. But I mean, for you, when we did the workflow, and then your book evolved into something, we talked about, I didn't really have much of a plan, but then I had a solid plan and you executed the plan. So I'm kind of going, well, that was a win for me too, of, you had your launch, you did your online conversations, you've set up the next step this year, which I'm so looking forward to seeing evolve. But that sort of stuff it's hard to be tangible on that because they're really not numbers. It's a guidance. It's that development. And so I think when you're talking about data, you're having trouble quantifying what what data can be, considered a win. But for me, I'm looking at, you know, have we had the impact that the client wants?
Hmm.
Did we achieve the goals? I mean, a goal doesn't have to be a number. You
No.
want smart goals, but I'm looking at, did we implement that new thing that the client asked for? Yes, that is, as far as I'm concerned, a win. It's something I can mark as a tangible, that has happened. We achieved that goal. Even though it's for the client, I'm still looking at those sorts of things as, my data is more qualifiable rather than quantifiable,
Yeah.
but you work with both.
Yeah.
So I think that's where people get a bit scared that they can't see what the data is. But what you need to do is look back and go, what is the metric that I'm working on here? Is it something that is a number, or is it something as something as, a tangible result?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because, like I say, it's information, and information isn't always a number. Information can also be a story, and so I think, if we are honest about what is going on in our businesses and in our lives, like even in our personal lives, right? Like, I don't think we collect a lot of sort of numerical data in our life, but I don't. The cat is not distracting me at all this week. Um, no, but but we do, and especially if we sort of record milestones, and when we take time to look back at our day or our week or our month or our year, and look at how far we've come, that is also taking in data points
Yeah.
to
And
go like, oh, last year in January, this is how I feel, or how I felt. And this year in January, this is where I'm at, and this is how I feel, and this is what I've accomplished. And I think we, like, as humans, we need to do that. We need to do that, do data collection in that
yeah.
sense.
And
And
I
and for
think
our business, we just need it to be a little bit more objective sometimes.
yeah, and if you haven't done a yearly review of your business, do that. Start with documenting what happened last year.
Yeah.
So work through month by month. It might be that you just scan through emails and see what pops out at you. Have you collected monthly numbers? Have you, is there anything that can tell a story? Even going back over social media, you can gather a year's worth of social media to tell you something. Just document that to start with, and I guarantee you'll be actually quite surprised by how much data you have in your business, and
Yeah.
then use that as a metric for the next year. So, there's easy wins, I think, if you're a bit concerned by data or you're worried about what data means to you in your business. Just start with the basics. And as you say, the stories will also tell you, where you are in your business journey.